Lunch with Lee was recorded at Hive Sound Studios, Sydney's newest podcast, recording and all audio hub. If you have any recording needs, go to their website, Hive Sound Studios. Hello and welcome to Lunch with Lee. I'm your host, Shane Lee. Today on the show, Tim Ferguson, an Australian comedian, film director, screenwriter, author and screenwriting teacher. He's best known for his show, Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, a member of the comedy group, the Doug Anthony All-Stars, and his live show, The Cheeky Monkey. He unsuccessfully stood as an independent to the Australian Parliament in 1990 with the campaign slogan, "Vote for Tim, he's gorgeous." Since the age of 19, he's been dealing with multiple sclerosis. He's married, he has 3 children, and I think he's a comic genius. Welcome, Tim.
Well, oh wow, Shane, welcome. I mean, I'm welcoming myself to be in your presence. It's great to meet you. Fantastic.
Likewise, mate. Also on the show today, Catherine Alcorn, an Australian award-winning artist, producer, podcaster, artistic director, writer and entertainer. She wrote and starred in the hugely successful stage show, The Divine Miss Bet, and Go Your Own Way, the story of Christine McVie, and 30-something. And she has her own podcast, Cafeteria. She's hilarious. She is married, and she's the world's best mum, I reckon.
Just for all the fans out there, I'm not married. So,
Okay.
Get in line.
Now you two go way back, don't you?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah. I think the first time that Tim and I met physically, was when we were interviewed together in Melbourne on the ABC with Waleed Ali, I believe. Right. Gosh, Tim, that was about 2013, I think. I was in Melbourne performing Go Your Own Way, the story of Christine McVie.
That's right. Yeah, and then Bette Midler was just an apple in your eye at the time, and then you did the Bette Midler show. Then I don't lost track of how many new shows Cath Alcorn is doing. It's great. I mean, when we met, we were so young and fresh-faced, and now look at us, we're just fresh-faced.
And yes, it's old friends with new faces.
That's right.
Well, just on that, Catherine, what are you working on at the moment?
I'm recovering at the moment, yep. Shane, because I have been cruising all year on the ships. I've been cruising, not the parks. This year already I have travelled to Antarctica.
Talk me through that.
Yeah, it was a life-changing experience. To anyone who is listening out there, to everyone who is listening out there, promise me that you will not leave this earth without trying to get to Antarctica. I was hosting the inaugural Pride cruise on the Greg Moore.
What better place to go?
Well, it certainly is, because there are no humans there. Therefore, really, there are no human problems. Yeah, there's no war. There are no taxes. There is no emailing, no chasing of invoices. There's no hate. There's no segregation. It is peace and pure love and quiet. It's like you're waking up on the first day of Earth. It was life-changing, and I really do feel like I've come back and every cell in my body has been renewed by that experience. Wow. So Barry and Mario, who are the owners of Planet Dwellers on Oxford Street, a travel agency, they chartered the Greg Mortimer. Greg Mortimer is an Australian expeditioner. He was one of 3 Australians to successfully climb Mount Everest and descent without any extra oxygen. So this dude is hardcore. Yeah. So they created a ship called the Greg Mortimer, which is purpose-built to traverse the Antarctic waters and the Drake Passage, which is between Argentina and Antarctica. The Greg Mortimer basically has a NASA-grade stabilizer and an icebreaker, so purpose-built to traverse these wild terrains of Antarctica. It sleeps 130 passengers. There were 71 glorious souls on board, and then there was me. And I was the entertainment, so I was the diva of the ship. So day one, when they all boarded in Ushuaia, I was dressed as Bet, getting them on the boat, and we hosted a White Lotus party where I launched my new character, Jennifer Coolidge from White Lotus, because all of these gays are trying to murder me. And then I was piano bar by night, and it was just phenomenal. We had guests from all around the world, the UK, the US and Australia. And Shane and Tim, you are speaking to the first Australian vocalist in history to perform live on the Antarctic waters at sunset in Paradise Bay on a Zodiac.
It's a world record.
It's a world record.
Yes.
Wow.
I've got to get in touch with the Guinness World Book of Records. I don't know how to do it. If they're watching, it happened. We filmed everything. So, look, it was just phenomenal. So I came back to Sydney. I had a week off where I was really sick. Like, I'm talking jet lagged, land sickness. And just as I was about to start feeling better, I took old Mia to New Mia and sailed on another cruise ship, the second final voyage of the P&O cruises on the P&O Adventure back to Sydney. But we were sailing away from Alfred the entire time. So we were trying to stay away from a cyclone. I ended up being the other cyclone on the ship. Sure. So I'm just getting over it. I had to go to my GP. She basically gave me prison grade drugs to help with the land sickness, which have been fabulous. But look, I'm here. I'm standing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Hey, Tim, I want to ask you about I was a huge fan of the Doug Anthony All-Stars. In particular, the song World's Best Kisser. Now, I want to ask you, are you still the world's best kisser?
Well, look, there's still argument. There's still controversy.
Yep.
But clearly, I give it a red-hot Aussie go. You know,
Good on you, mate.
got to fly the flag for Australia. And those tongues might be wagging, but mine doesn't wag. It goes straight to the point.
But I love some of the lines in that song. I'll suck your face until I pull your molars out. And after this, you'll never brush your teeth again.
Yeah, so it's one way.
It's romance. It's romance. It's beautiful.
Don't worry about not forgetting your toothbrush, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it's a fast track to dental.
That's hilarious, mate. Hey, I want to ask you, Tim. I mentioned at the start, and I was actually watching Good News Week when you came out and said that you had a MS.
Oh, yeah.
I think you were about 29 then or something, or how old were you then, roughly?
I've no idea.
Okay.
No, what would I do? Oh, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. But you reckon, looking back, you might have had some symptoms from 19.
Yeah. Oh, look, when I was a teenager, there were always things going wrong. Hands would stop working, eyes would go crossed. Wake up and the legs would be sort of spasming, doing crazy stuff. But I just thought, man, I got to lay off the bourbon. I need to drink more water.
I was going to say,
I've got some of those symptoms now.
Yeah. Well, see, that's right. Yeah, you got to watch out for that bourbon. But so it'd come and go and come and go. And then later I find out it's called relapsing remitting, which means here it is and there it goes. But Oh, look, it's just everybody ends up with something or other. The good thing about MS is you know what it is. Whereas other people, can you imagine what it's like to be born ugly? Just there's nothing you can do. You can't fix it.
What was that like for you as a boy, Shane? Like, how did you cope?
Yes. Well, when I came out, my dad said, "Fuck me, I didn't order that."
Your mum's like, "Where's the receipt? How do I send it back?
That's right.
How do I return this
You're
mess?"
a very handsome man, Shane. You're a very handsome man.
You hang up, Tim. You hang up, mate. You hang up. No, but for the viewers or the listeners listening to this podcast, just MS is obviously an autoimmune disease. Can you just give it the simplistic, brief version of it?
Oh, very simply, everybody's got this stuff called myelin, which coats all the nerves in your central nervous system. And for no known reason, sometimes the myelin starts to get eroded and then all the little nerves are all zapping against each other.
Right.
So things go a bit crazy. It's got a million symptoms. Whatever your brain can do, MS can get in the way. But it's always different for everybody. For me, it tries to get in my way, but I just am a bit too stubborn.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you.
You look like you're on fire, mate. Sharp as a tack.
I literally am on fire. Look at that T-shirt.
Look at his T-shirt.
Look at that. What is that?
That's a Balrog it's a T-shirt from Weta in New Zealand where they make the, what are they? The Hobbit movies.
Okay.
Wetter.
Yeah, my wife went
better than being drier.
I think I watched one of those movies the other night.
Yeah. I mean, wetter and wetter all the time.
My wife's away at the moment. Anyway.
He's solo parenting. That's how he's coping.
Yeah.
A couple of bourbons and wetter.
Yeah, wetter version 2. Even wetter.
It's New Zealand without the insanitary pads.
I love it, mate. Well, one thing I think you two have got in common is the satire piece. Like obviously, Tim, you've been doing it forever, and your stuff too, Catherine. What you're doing in around Divine Misbad, there's some really, really clever stuff in there. Is that you two sort of bonded initially in around that sort of piece?
I think Tim and I just like to laugh, don't we?
Well, yeah, and it's great fun making other people laugh. But Cath is particularly funny and very sharp. Like not many people can walk on a boat in a straight line and stay funny, but Cath Alcorn can.
Yes.
Well, walk in a straight line and stay funny. That's how I'm going to put that in my bio now. That's the leader, I think.
That's skills.
Now you made it like
exactly.
Yep.
I was never a comedian. I was just a good singer and a good harmonicist. And when I was at uni in Wagga, Charles Sturt, studying acting for the screen and stage, I was living with a girl called Jade Camden and we started singing together. We were called Double Platinum. Never got there, but, there's always hope. There's still time, isn't there? And Jade was always the funny front-facing portion, half of the group. I could just harmonise well. And so when I first started the Divine Misbad, we opened it at the Wagga Country Club in 2009 for a Christmas season. Mm-hmm. I was the lead, and there was a script, and I never veered off that script once because I was absolutely terrified. I had never led a show. I'd never spoken to an audience, Tim. I had no idea how to riff or improv.
Yep.
And now there is no script. There is no script. And the reason 15 years later I'm still performing this show and loving performing this show is because every night the audience is different. I would hate for them to know how in control of my show they really are, but it's the material that the audience give me. So playing Bette Midler for 15 years has taught me how to be a comedian. And it's like knowing people like Tim and working with legends like Ted Robinson and Phil Scott and so many incredible, improvisers out there. Just having to be, I think there's also something, Tim, I'm not sure if this happens for you, but adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Yeah, and for me, it just clears those portals. It's like you've got nowhere to hide. When you're the lead of a show and you're carrying, a 120-minute performance with 3 backing vocalists, a 4-piece band, a house of 700, and people who they've bought a front row ticket because, God damn it, they want to be involved in this show. Yep. They want more mud flung at them than I can whip up backstage.
Pay for their babysitters. They're there for a good time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. And Tim, have you found that you might be having a flat day as Tim Ferguson, or as Tim, but when you're up on stage and Dr. Footlights hits and the adrenaline's pumping, those portals just open and you find your way? Does that ever happen to you?
Oh, yeah, mainly because something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's when you have to say, well, I guess I'm on my own now, and you've got to get it together. But, making people laugh isn't as hard as it sounds, on a regular
basis. Don't downplay it, mate. Don't downplay it.
And it's only a 2-hour show. You could keep going for 7 hours with the right gags. A lot of people are trying to be comedians at the moment. It's very sad because they enter the raw competition and they get told by failed radio hosts that they're not the funniest on the night. And so what you're going to have is genius comedians just going, oh, well, I've been told by someone from Fox FM that I'm no good. I guess I should go back to banking. And it's a real shame.
It is a real shame,
that can't be the benchmark, though. I've been auditioning for musical theatre in Australia for 15 years, but the fact that I never got cast, I didn't let that affect my the deep knowing that I am meant to be doing this in some capacity. So that's why I created my own work.
Well,
I would really hate to think that there are seriously incredible and also untrained artists and creatives out there. You don't have to have gone to NIDA. I certainly didn't. You don't have to go to WAPA. I didn't. I went to Wagga instead. But it was outside of university that I learnt my craft. Like I was studying acting, but all of the cabaret stuff I learnt by getting involved with local producers, local writers, performing at the Garden Court and doing dinner theatre there. And they're the boards that I tread. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. I think that that's fraught with danger because, if you've got that feeling inside that you know that this is what you're meant to be doing, I reckon just keep forging ahead. What do you think, Tim?
Oh, yeah, you just keep going. I mean, and with, music and comedy, because there's a lot of people doing it now, a lot of people want to get into it. It means that finding a place to perform is really up to you. If you want to do it, you've got to make a place. I keep telling comedians that I'm teaching, don't tell me that there's no venue. Go and hassle a local pub and say, give us Monday nights, 9 till 11, and we will get the punters in. Go do it yourself. You can't sit around waiting for somebody to say, hey, I've made it all easy for you.
But you talk about adrenaline before. Tim, I played a band, Six and Out, we're all cricketers, and we did a summer tour. We hadn't played for about the last 2 months.
I know Six and Out.
Yes, there you go, mate. Yeah. We played at Penrith Paceway on Friday night.
Well.
And I was a bit nervous, and there was 8,000 people there, and no one was smiling when I walked out, and I realised that there's about 15 teeth between them.
You can't hear a smile, mate.
It was a good gig, 8,000 people there. It was a cracking night. Yeah, it's good fun.
The Blues Brothers, where they say, well, either we're going to be killed or it should be a pretty good gig.
Yeah, that's right.
They're the odds.
You guys must have some of those gigs where you're starting out and you fall flat, and how do you get through that?
I don't have those moments. Because it starts with crash through, so you just keep crashing.
Right.
So I don't have those moments where the audience goes, well, that doesn't work. My style is you just keep hammering them and eventually they'll all start laughing. And if they're not laughing, that's on them. How about you, Cath?
Yeah.
I recently had the show from hell
on
P&O Adventure. It was
you had the runs.
Mate, like Six and Out, I was trying to get some runs on the board.
Yeah, very good.
With the audience. Yeah. But look, I hadn't done the Divine Miss Bet for about a year because I was touring with Menopause the Musical. I'm done with menopause now and all of her symptoms. Mm-hmm. I am free. But we had a rehearsal that afternoon. Everything was good. The sound was good. We were all happy. We opened the show. And second song in, there's a gentleman in the audience who arcs up and says, the drums are too loud and the sound is shit and blah, blah, blah. And I'm live, in character, on stage, trying to, in real time, speak to the audio engineer up the back of the room and have him fix the sound while I'm keeping everyone on side, and I am dying inside.
God.
This bloke just said, because I was already anxious and in a state where it's kind of like that, oh God, how do I do this again moment? You're not doing it every week. You're not used to it. So anyway, look, I was dying inside, and then I felt like I was just constantly chasing the audience to be back on side. And I came, and then I fell. I fell in the show. I tripped and I fell. I bruised every bone in my body. I jumped up like an athlete, though, and threw my arms up and, the show must go on sort of thing. But I got off the stage and I burst into tears.
Oh, okay.
It was just one of those nights where it felt that everything was it went so badly. I didn't even get to the merch desk afterwards because my face was around by my ankles by that time. I was so distressed that I'd done a disservice to the audience who were paying customers, that I'd not let that man. I mean, and look, he wasn't wrong. The drums were too loud. Mm. But the difference, you would know this, Tim, the difference between doing a sound check and then having a full body a room of full bodies and the sound completely changes. Huge difference. And it's only in that moment that you can try and get everything right, because, I'm at a point now in my career where there is a benchmark. I don't like to present or serve anything less than what that benchmark is. Mm. But in the moment, you just have to keep going and you find a way. But it was smiling through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
It was a really tough one.
Tim, would you describe yourself as a more a writer or a performer?
I'm more a writer these days.
Yep.
Although I'm running Harold Park Hotel comedy nights.
Oh,
so that's
Mate,
fun.
this is the battle of the trots, you and I.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, bring Six and Out along with you.
Mate, we can collaborate.
Yeah. We'll get you on the stage.
Get a few bets on as well. We'll fix a few races like they do.
let's go. I'm in. I am
yeah.
in. I'm downloading the tab.
It's a great hotel, historic. I mean, Robin Williams played there.
Wow.
Carl Barron got his start there. Gretel Colleen.
Love Gretel.
And so it's still going. I kind of am the showrunner of the whole thing. So that's fun. I get to walk on stage and do some stand-up. But most of the time I'm concentrating on writing a movie at the moment, and I'm writing a book on how to do stand-up just to make it easier for people.
I'll ask you that question because I know you teach screenwriting. Do you think kids these days can sit down for long enough to actually really get into that art?
Yeah, it comes as a bit of a shock when students turn up and then I say, right, this is very simple and that's a problem. And they go, what? I said, the problem is it's very simple. You've just got to make it either funny or dramatic or whatever it is. And there's a long list of ways you can do that. Then they realize, it's not as easy as watching TV or movies. But it can be done. They write great stuff. We're making another movie, Mark Gracie and I. It just takes a lot of work. If you get the script right, everything else falls into place. If the script is crap, doesn't matter if you've got Meryl Streep, that's right. Not going to work.
That's right, yeah. Now, Tim, I mentioned at the start that Cath has a world record. You've sort of got one here. You own the third largest Star Wars toy collection in the Southern Hemisphere. How the fuck do you know that stat?
Well, I have no idea. Somebody must have done the counting. The other two guys are in South Africa.
Okay.
Because that's, Southern Hemisphere. And
do you all get together at Christmas and share toys?
We're constantly, trying to poach off each other.
Oh, right, yes.
Like, so you've got a yuck face in the packet, original this, original that. Yeah, well, I'll swap you with it's nerds on parade. I
was going to say, there's a good bit of nerd in you, isn't there? That's good.
Oh, yeah, you've got to keep the nerd alive.
Yeah.
But, it's when I first met my beautiful Canadian wife, Stephanie, I had to say, before we go, before I show you what my lounge room is like, you do think I'm an interesting guy. She said, yeah, you're interesting. And I opened up the door and she was like, you're less interesting than I thought. Because it was Toy World.
Well, the good news is you've only been married once, haven't you? So you're not collecting wives. That's a good thing.
Well, no. I've been married twice.
Oh, have you? Okay, there you go.
I was going to say collecting wives is quite a fun pastime. I'm not sure if you're up for it.
My research on marriage has been appalling. This
it's
podcast.
Terrible. It's terrible, Shane. What are you doing?
It's not my strong suit, mate.
But it's so it was a good moment. Well, you might as well reveal your nerdness, and everybody got it. Just to say, look, those are my bottle tops, and there is a million of them. What can I do?
And there's a story for each of them too. That's what I love about it. Good collection.
And Catherine, do you have any collectibles?
None I'm willing to admit to, Shane, to be honest. But no.
We'll be right back after a short break. If you've been affected by anything in this podcast, please call 1300.
Of batteries. Just rotate them, yeah.
I was going to say a few AAAs. Anyway.
Alice.
I did mention you that you are the world's best mum.
Oh, you did. You did. Oh, look, being a mum has been amazing. And it's been a huge. Jack turns 8 this year.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal. I know. He's still alive, mate. He's still with us. We're not breathing badly. He's breathing. He's showered. I was back on the road touring 5 weeks after Jack was born. And that was in my that was on the tour of the McVie show, Go Your Own Way, the story of Christine McVie, one of my favourite shows in the world. So we were doing it all. I mean, he's our first and only child. First baby, you don't know what the hell you don't know what you're in for. I mean, you don't know. You didn't give birth to it. What am I talking about? The women out there, they know your first child, you don't know where your body's at. You don't, but you know, I was desperate at the time to be the woman and the artist before the baby as well as the mum after the birth. But Jesus Christ, you know, I was patted left, right and centre on that stage. It was a lot. My mum came on the tour with us. We were downstairs. She was bottle feeding him while I was up on stage, you know, earning money. I was contracted to 30 days.
You're lucky to have your mum that support.
So lucky.
Thing.
And it takes a village.
It does.
You know, back in the day, we were living in huts. There was a village. You were able to literally hand the child around the circle. And now you're sent home and you're there and there's no handbook and you know, you're calling your partner saying, when the fuck are you going to be home from work? I've been here all day. It's a lot, but it's also, you know, it's the most glorious thing in the world.
And come off stage, get to kiss your son, and it's fantastic.
He started heckling me. He's now coming to my shows. Tim, we played the Coliseum Theatre in 2022, the Divine Miss Bet. I'm on character and I hear this child's voice in the audience. I say, who the fuck brought a child to this show? Turns out it was bloody mine. And he starts heckling me, the little shit. And I tell you what, he's fucking good at it.
Is he?
He was serving me some. Awesome. Honestly, I could only be proud. I could only be proud.
So, well, speaking about kissing babies, I want to go back to, I mentioned at the start, Tim, your dalliance with politics. Vote for Tim Ferguson. He's gorgeous. What was going through your mind at that stage? Was it a serious thing or was it more of a...
No. No, I mean, it was we were on The Big Gig, a TV show on the ABC, which was live comedy. Can you imagine anyone having the guts to even say those two words together?
Only.
Yeah. Live comedy where the producer, Ted Robinson, who Cath mentioned before, didn't know completely what we were going to do, and we just came up with the idea because I heard that it only cost $250 to run for a local electorate. So I thought, I'll run against Peacock. Yeah. And so I think I got like 4% of the vote, which was actually a lot of votes, considering I had no policies, no idea, and made no promises. But
maybe Prime Minister now.
No morals.
Well, that's what people wanted, is no promises and no policies. But yeah, it was just fun. But I did it again and then did it again in Sydney, ran for the Senate, I think, a couple of years ago. It's just fun. You wouldn't want to win, but it's just fun.
You wouldn't want to win.
What's it like? Is it cutthroat? Like, are you really competing with people out there?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't meet any of them. I just, say I'm running and send out press releases with jokes in them. There's no effort. Still no policies. Australia, I promise you, no policies. If I got elected, you would get nothing and I would just be sucking off the system like a little baby pig. That would be it. You can
straight from the teat.
Yeah, I might run in the next election against Peter Dutton just to get in his head a little.
Mate, I think I'd rather you run the country than him, mate. Anyway,
we should all do it just for shits and gigs. Why don't we all do it?
Yeah, we'll put a party together. What should we call ourselves?
Yeah. What would our party be?
The 3 a.m.ers?
3 a.m.ers.
6 and out and then back in again.
I like it.
Or 6 and out tea time. I mean, we'll come up with something. Or the cow paddock people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like tea time. I think that sounds great.
A tea party. Yeah.
I like. Well, good band, bloody good band.
We could do a lot of cruises with more people with no teeth that have no teeth for different reasons.
Hey, Cath, it's funny how you've ended up where you are now, but you started working as a PA at Wild Water Sports. And we've got a mutual friend, Brad McNamara.
Yes.
Buzzard.
Oh,
He's
Buzzard.
A legend.
He is a living legend. I love that man.
Yeah.
G'day, Buzz. If you're listening, I hope you bloody should be.
He's the lead guitarist in 6 and Out, Tim. Buzzard.
Wow.
Yep.
There
he is. Yeah.
He is. And
Rock
he
and
was
roll.
a colleague of mine at the Wide World of Sports when I was there as the worst personal assistant in the history of personal assistants to the head of sport at Wide World of Sports. Yeah. Look, I am a massive 12-man fan. So working in that cottage on Scott Street when the 9 Studios was still there in Willoughby, it was a dream. I loved it. Couldn't file for shit.
Hard time.
But they couldn't. You know what? Great on the phone. Great on the not a high turnover because I'd end up having a 15-minute chat with everyone who called in. But yeah, really, really fond memories, and it was a great time. And you know, I freelanced in 2010. And the last gig that I did as a freelance production coordinator was working on Oprah's Ultimate Australian Adventure.
Okay.
When I was working on her tour. Yeah. Oh, Tim, I got to see the Northern Territory on Oprah's budget. I mean, come on.
Jesus.
We got flown to a cave in Arnhem Land owned by an elder called Margaret Catherine. I was the 56th non-Indigenous person in the history of the world to be blessed to go into this cave. It was like the opening sequence of MASH.
The first one to come out.
Indeed. Haven't gone back in since. And yeah, look, it was incredible. It was like the opening scene of MASH. 5 choppers, practically army choppers, flew into the Jim Falls. We got right up close to the waterfall and then we landed, and I was stationed in the Northern Territory with 16 of the audience members because Oprah bought out 350 audience members, 150 of her biggest fans and a guest each. And they all got to choose where in Australia they would like to go during their time. So it was the Great Barrier Reef, it was the Northern Territory and Uluru, stay in Sydney, and Melbourne. And so I was stationed in the Northern Territory bit, and I was working with Oprah's camera crew, Keith Walker, and I'm still in touch with all of them, and the 16 women who I was with. And it was all of Oprah's senior producers, Gail, and such fond memories. But it was then, I remember getting the call. They had put me on, you'll love this, Tim, they put me on I had to drive out to Uluru to get a time lapse of the sunset over the rock, right? So this was an 8-hour gig before mobile phones, really, before smartphones. So I was just sitting there in the dirt, just watching the sunrise as this time lapse was being shot. And I got a call from Slide Lounge in Sydney saying, your first show of the Divine Miss Bet has completely sold out. We're putting another one on sale for January. And so that was the transition really between film and TV production into showbiz, which is where I knew I wanted to be. So the show then became a monthly residency at Slide for all of 2011. On the first show, I invited every agent in Sydney to come to this production because we'd really built it as a showcase piece. And none of the bastards turned up, but the general public kept coming and buying and buying. And cut to 2018, I'm touring America 3 times. I've played the Sydney Opera House, and I spent $10,000 on my O1B visa. Yeah. I got 2018 out of it. It's a 3-year visa, spent 10 grand, got 2018 out of it. Came back to tour Australia in 2019, producing a tour for the US back in 2020, and the other big C.
We know what happened.
Yeah, we do know what happened.
Big C.
Yeah.
You recreated yourself, Tim. You have a fantastic quote about recreating yourself. I can't remember what it was. It was something like, "Never be afraid to recreate yourself as a better version of yourself." Something along those lines.
That sounds very millennial. Sounds very millennial, doesn't it?
I'm pretty sure you said it.
Yeah, it's a good idea because quite often, life makes us do things and we become something else that's not us. So it never hurts to go on a holiday and think, hang on, how am I going to reset?
Yeah, take a step back.
Myself as like, who am I again now that I'm doing all this other stuff? So it's good. Because now I get around in a wheelchair, the assumption is that I can't do anything, which would be great if I was lazy, but so I just keep reinventing myself just so people can see I work harder and faster than they do. Yeah. Their fancy walking legs and their fancy eyeballs that can see and their big ears, although a lot of people are going deaf right now. You see them walking along with that so they're going from
big time.
deaf to deaf pretty soon. I'm putting my money into hearing centres, ladies and gentlemen, because you watch how many people walk past wearing headphones. You know, they're going deaf.
They definitely are. Tim, I ask everyone that comes on Lunch with Lee the same question. I'll ask you first. What advice would you give to a young boy or girl who wants to go into the entertainment world or become a writer?
Oh, work out how you can do it yourself.
Okay. And Catherine? Yeah, same question. Young boy or girl wants to go into become an entertainer or a writer. What advice do you give them?
Don't wait for the phone to ring. Pick it up yourself, start networking, find a good team of people, create your own work. Exactly the same as Tim. You know, we're living proof that it works, and that by creating your own work, it allows you to be fully in charge of you, your product, your branding, everything. I was forced to self-produce into, you know, when I finished at Channel 9, I sat at Mum and Dad's desk, Mum and Dad's kitchen table in St Ives. I'd saved up $3,000. I taught myself how to design a poster online, built my own website, wrote my own press release, cold called all of these journalists who'd never heard of me, cold called every venue in Sydney. And, you know, I'm so glad that I did, because it gave me the impetus to continue to work, but also knowing the back end of the business I think is really important. So, do not wait for the phone to ring. Make it happen for yourself. Create your own work. You're in charge of your career and your life.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on Lunch with Lee. And Tim, you're not in the studio with us today, but, mate, I'm going to buy you lunch in the near future, mate. I'd love to catch up and break some bread with you, mate. I really appreciate your time. As I said at the start, mate, I think you're a comic genius, mate, and you've given Australia and myself some really good stuff over the years, mate. So may that continue, please.
There's more coming. Thanks,
Yeah,
Shane.
good boy.
Great to see you, and wonderful to see Cath Alcorn. You're you really are a goddess. I know they all call you a goddess, but I can guarantee that you're a card-carrying celestial being.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Man, I'm sending you a cosmic Cath cuddle, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I love you, Tim.
Cheers, Tim.
Mwah.
That's it for Lunch with Lee this week. A big thank you goes out to our guests, Tim Ferguson and Catherine Alcorn. Thanks to our sponsors, Hive Sound Studios, Richmond Bowman & Co. and Red Roo Vodka. Fantastic vodka that it is. Make sure you hit follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from, and do us a favour, hit 5 stars, and if you're there and you're passionate, please leave a review. And come find us on Instagram at I'm at Lunch with Lee. Our official Lunch with Lee photography was done by Felicity Kelly. You can find her on Instagram at Felicity Kelly Portraits. And once again, thanks to our producer, Dan McHugh. We'll be back next time for another cracking episode of Lunch with Lee. We'll see you then.